Hey guys, how's it going? So today we're going to be doing a little bit of work out here in the cozy greenhouse because it's chilly outside. Yesterday morning we woke up to sleet, then it started to snow, then it hailed, then it rained, and the wind was blowing all day long. It was the weirdest day. And today it's chilly, the wind's still blowing, no moisture yet, but then tomorrow we have the possibility of maybe an inch or so of snow. So we'll see what happens. I welcome any kind of moisture that wants to come our way. And I'm just so super thankful for this greenhouse. And I want to give you a tour of how everything's doing first of all. I don't think we've been out here really looking at seedlings since I started my last batch of seedlings, I think. So I'll show you what's doing really well, what didn't do as great, and so on and so forth. We'll just take a look at everything. And then I do have some thinning and separating of seedlings I want to do, and I'll also show you how I'm fertilizing. So the greenhouse is just full of fun things going on, and then boom, that's the reality. So I do have a chair in here that we come out here, like Aaron or I will sit in the chair. The kids love to play. We have a bubble machine in here. But this is what happens when you have a ton of projects going on. You need a place to quickly store things. In fact, it looks like a mess, but it's organized. I know where everything's at and where all the pots are to pot up seedlings and so on and so forth. But we also have a full set of a chair and table set right here. The one that we had in the gazebo, we needed a spot to store it this winter, so there it sits. Anyway, I do have some other plants in this corner. A few shrubs. There's some sprinters. These are the ones I took out of the pots up front, in front of the greenhouse from up here. I've got a couple, let's see, one hydrangea rhythmic blue that's absolutely gorgeous, a viola, double red rose there, and then these are the trays of verbascum I started. Looking really good. So good, like ready to be potted out. In fact, these two, and then this is the dianthus. What is it called? Purple, sweet purple white bicolor dianthus. It's like sending up bloom stalks. I've been hardening these off before it got really cold. So when the doors were open during the day, I just popped these seedlings out in the sun and then bring them in at night. I was in that process when the cold front started to come through. And you know, as I'm looking through, there's a lot I want to show you in here. I kind of want to take my time going tray by tray just to show you the state of things. So maybe we'll put time signatures on the screen, one for the tour, one for when I start thinning and separating, and then one for when we start fertilizing. All right, so let's start right here. On the ground, we have some fireball burning bushes. They're a type of euonymus. There are 8 of them. They're in a small container right here. I think this is called a quick turn size, but anyway, brilliant red in the fall, and they get kind of big, like 5 to 7 feet tall and wide. I'm excited about them. And then we've got a couple of Thornless Boysenberries. I was gonna put these in the blackberry bed, but then I ended up with enough of the other types. But I do want to find a place to put these. And since these have been in the warmer greenhouse, I'm kind of afraid to put these out. I'm going to have to harden them off. I mean, we've already got a bloom here. They look gorgeous and full of buds. Okay, up here on the table, I have a 4-pack of red cabbage that I have left over. I will plant these out as soon as it warms up a bit. In this tray here, we have some Strawflowers. This is the Swiss Giant mix. And they look kind of askew, like some of the seeds came up to the side, but every single cell came up, which is exciting. These are the only Strawflowers I grew. I found that I didn't actually use them all that much, but some, so I didn't grow as many. And then our dahlias from seed. So we've got the Sunny Reggae dahlia right here. Most of the cells came up. I only had enough seed to put 1 seed per cell. So I was thankful. There's a couple of cells back here that didn't come up. And then this is the decorative blend, which this packet of seeds I had were older. I didn't get quite as good a germination. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 cells that didn't come up out of the 12. And then in the back there, I have some asters. My asters were complete duds, 1 tray of them at least. It was almost like I had forgot to seed a few of the varieties, like I forgot to put the seeds in the cells. I mean, it's possible that I forgot, because the Tower Violets came up great, but the King Size Apricot and the Duchess Peony Blush Pink, I got like 1 or 2 seedlings out of that whole section, which, I mean, I've got a whole other tray of asters, so we're good, but I was kind of like, what is going on here? That's weird. Right to the left of that, we've got all of our stock plants, which look so good. That's 4 trays of them right there. First tray, we have vintage brown stock. And then we've got iron purple in the back half. Back half of this one is Katz yellow. And then we've got iron marine. Quartet rainbow sorbet. No, Quartet rainbow. And then Katz apricot in the back. The cell dried out. Poor thing. So did that one. The cells, it's weird. The cells on the back dry out a lot faster than the cells up toward the front. So we've got Katz white in the back here. You can see there's 1 cell that didn't come up. And then, which is fine. Actually, today we'll probably separate one that has 2 in it and pop it in that cell. And then we've got iron cherry up front. In front of the stock plants, one of you guys who lives in Australia sent me some seeds. So this is Kangaroo Paw, which I just seeded this tray. I've got 1 up so far. And then this one is a Sturt Pea, and 1 is up so far. So not a lot of action yet, but I haven't had this one out here very long. This tray here is white mignonette, which is the most gorgeous filler flower ever. And the foliage is really pretty. I mean, you can tell that just based on the seedlings here. Looks really good. And then we have our tray of Gomphrena. This is another one like the Strawflowers that I found myself not using all that much. So I just grew this one tray. There's the Audrey White and the Quis Orange right there. And then we've got wild bergamot, which, I mean, the seedlings almost match the color of the vermiculite and soil. Every cell, I think almost every cell has a plant in it. You just can't see it. Like this one, there's a plant in there, but it's hard to distinguish it. Some cells, though, look kind of thicker. Anyway, this one was a little bit slow to come up. Look at that, though. Isn't that pretty? If I need to separate some of these, I'm kind of hanging on. Like some of the cells, like this one that doesn't look as good as the others, I'll separate 2 of the really good looking ones and put one of the good ones in there. So I just kind of hold off for a while. We've got a purple double Columbine. Oh my goodness. Got a little heavy-handed with that one. We're gonna have to do some thinning. Also, it looks like I have I don't know what that is right there, something else. A little bit like 50-50 luck with my Victoria Blue Salvia. Now you can just see there what happened. Some of the seedlings look kind of like weird, not that healthy, and some of them look great. But I'm good with that. I mean, if I get 12 plants of Victoria Blue, I will be happy. Here is our pepper tray. So I had planted green bells and then cubanelles in the front 4 and these 2 cells that did not come up. So I went ahead and just seeded 3 orange bells in there, which have come up. They're a little bit behind the others, but I didn't have any orange bells, so it was kind of perfect, really. That is one of my cucumbers I seeded in November. The weirdest thing, so I seeded both of those cucumbers in late November, and they both came up, looked healthy, started forming cucumbers. It was so exciting. And then their leaves started looking yellow and mottled, kind of like typical spider mite damage, but I couldn't find spider mites anywhere on that plant, which I'm usually pretty good at identifying the spider mites. And I couldn't find any bug on them at all. And so the leaves just started to kind of yellow, dry up, and fall away. So the original plant ended up kind of withering away. And then just last week, the new seedlings started to sprout. I didn't plant any new seeds in the container. So months later, new seeds come up. And there weren't any cucumbers that formed up big enough to have seeds. They were all like little tiny babies that just dried up and I pulled off the plant. So I have no idea why those seeds just hung out. It's kind of like they knew they needed to wait. So that's what's going on with the cucumber. Right here we have cup and saucer vine and the Thai double blue butterfly pea, which last year I started these and got 0 germination. So I'm thrilled that I have 3. I mean, that's not 50%, but I will take it. Then we have cup and saucer alba, which is a white bloom, and we had 5 out of 8 come up here. Actually, no, we had 6 out of 8, and then one of them kind of withered up and I pulled it out. And then we have cup and saucer blue right here, which 15 out of 16 of those came up, which is exciting. Then we've got Craspedia right here, which we had 100% germ on that one. It's awesome. I'm so excited. These are the little yellow spherical shaped blooms. And then we've got our tray of Cilicia, which the Selway White was a little bit spotty. You can see I didn't get 5 out of all the greens that are there. And then we've got the Sunday Wine Red, came up really nice and thick. And then I don't know what to call it. I call it the red brain because that's what it looks like, but that came up nice. Then we've got Cotton Candy Blend Status. Kind of looks like the mignonette, doesn't it? And then here are the tomatoes, which have done beautifully. I planted 52, so 2 each of 26 varieties. I will only be growing 1 of each variety, and then I'm going to be giving the other one away. But every single one just looks so beautiful. I'm so excited about it. I mean, look at this. Black Beauty right there. This one is a big boy. Look at the roots. Just amazing. Right back here I have a lupin called Pixie Delight. These need to be potted up, I think. They're starting to languish just a little bit. Then I've got some random plants that I had picked up for some container projects and didn't use, but I always end up using them. So I've got chives, chamomile, there's a dusty miller, there's some platinum blonde lavender. And then right here, we've got Zulu Prince daisy. This was another one that was a little bit of a dud. I planted an entire tray, like an entire 72 count tray. And this is what I ended up with. Really poor germination on that one. And then I've got something else right here. I think that might be a snapdragon. I'm letting it grow. And then I had some plugs sent to me, which these got all jostled around. They were in a plug tray like just a couple of days ago. These are Stachys, I think called Pixie Delight. Anyway, so I just potted them up and they look really, really rough right now, but they won't, I don't think, for long. And then we've got an Armeria or thrift called Victor Reader, which they're just done blooming, but they were the sweetest things. I want to plant these, I think, on the west side, kind of along the brick walkway. Then a couple more of our herb trays. We have mountain mint, which again, the cells, I think every single cell has a plant, but they kind of match the color of the vermiculite. But you can see right there. At least we've got germination and growth. And then we've got wild marjoram, which is a little spottier, but again, some of them are really big and some of them are small, but they're there. Like there is a plant right here. It's just really hard to distinguish. We're just gonna have to give this one some more time. Then we've got our sweet peas, which I said I was not going to grow any sweet peas inside because they always succumb to some kind of weather after I put them out. I thought I would just direct sow everything, but I think I'm gonna do half and half. I've got these going here and then I'll direct sow some and then we can maybe just kind of see how each one of them does. Then we've got a whole tray of, this is Bloodstone Armeria. So this is the kind of plug tray right here that the Stachys came in. And then we've got a Stachys called Hummelo. And then after that, we have dahlias in all types of different stage of bloom because I've been pulling these out of like our pre-sprout trays. So some of them aren't showing really much growth at all. I think most of them are showing some kind of growth. So these were potted up later, of course, than the ones over here. Look at this. We've got buds. Bud, bud, big bud. So exciting. I've pinched some of these, so you can see right in here where I went in and pinched the main stem down, and then others I've just left alone. Again, just to kind of compare. I've actually never gone to the trouble of pinching my dahlias, and it probably is beneficial for the production and stem length, but honestly, what I notice with mine is that the first bloom is always kind of nestled down in, and maybe that's the difference. It's kind of nestled down into the plant without much of a stem, but then the rest of the plant just gets huge and produces a ton of blooms. So if by pinching them you get even more blooms, I don't know, I'm gonna have so many blooms out there. So anyway, I just thought it would be interesting since I've never really pinched them just to see what the difference is. Okay, the wind is kind of picking up, so I apologize if it's really loud. Next tray here, this is Tango Agastache right here. It's starting to bud up to bloom and it smells so good. I recently potted these up from this size of tray right here into the 4-inch size. So anyway, soon we will plant these out in the garden. We've got a tray of Columbine. Now this is the one that Benjamin helped me plant. He also helped me write the tag, and I did not know. For a while there, I thought that maybe I had forgot to plant the tray because I mean, there was no growth forever, but I just kept watering it, and lo and behold, we've got this massive amount of Columbine. I've got to do some thinning here. We've got some plants for some spring projects. I still have a couple more pots I want to put stuff in. So I've got some pansies, some of the stock. This is a cherry blossom stock that's so pretty. Here are the peppers that I started in November, you guys. They were afflicted with aphids. It started inside. They've had aphids a little bit in here. They're clean right now. I had been spraying, what did I spray with? I'll show you in a minute. I've got the bottle in here, but you can see peppers starting to form. They're starting to bloom. So I think they're coming out of it. Maverick coral geranium. So this is interesting. I brought out the tray that had most of the geraniums in it, and this is what happens when they're subjected to maybe more cool temperatures. The 3 of these I left in the studio and didn't bring them out here until maybe just a couple of days ago. In fact, I'm actually noticing a little bit of color. They were completely green. So you can tell what like the intensity of light and possibly the fluctuation of temperature out here does to the plant. They're gorgeous. Geraniums are super easy to start from seed. I've got cannas back here. These are, what variety? I forget. What are these? Cleopatra. We planted a few of these clumps last year and I ended up with a ton. In fact, I've got more rhizomes to plant. We stored them in the root cellar, so I'm super thrilled to see these start to grow. Then we've got Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus. You can see I've got pretty much 2 per tray, I think. We could separate these or thin them. I'll show you what we're gonna do. I think we'll address this tray today, but you can see what our water does. Look at this, it's a perfect example. We have really hard water, so it starts to make the leaves turn white, and then it cakes up and it eventually starts to burn them. Now that happens only really in here where they're overhead watered. They won't, once they're outside and planted and have drip, they'll be gorgeous and clean. Their leaves will look perfection. This is a little bit of a bummer of a tray. This is all echinacea. I mean, they're all here. There's one in every cell. Some of them look a little bit more promising than others. I think that this one stayed wet for too long. Don't you think that's what happened? That's kind of what it looks like. But we'll give them some time. I'm going to let them dry out a bit. Yeah. We'll see. Here's our fig. I think it's a Chicago hardy fig, if I remember correctly. If you think you're going to remember a name of a plant and you don't tag it, just know that you probably won't remember the name of the plant. So tag it. Because I always think I'm going to remember because I only have one fig. So how could I forget? Well, you know. Okay, moving on to this side. We've still got the bulbs that have yet to come up. The Dordonias came up a little bit weak, but I thought once they're a little bit stronger, I'll probably just use them for cutting. We've got two here that are what? These are Vanilla Coupe, I think. And then we've got Angeliques, which are looking great. And then we've got Mentons, which are just starting to bloom. Japanese maple here, which I forgot was in here along with another one, and it started leafing out way too early. Ours outside, the leaves are just itty bitty. They're just barely starting to leaf. And then I've got a rosemary up here in this hanging basket that's been here for a few years now. Okay, we are on the other side now. So in the corner of this table, we have our pincushion flowers, which are looking really good. So we've got Fama, which have a different leaf structure. These are hardy. So we've got Fama Deep Blue, we've got Fama Deep Blue right there, we've got Fama White, and then we've got Snow Maiden, and we've got Salmon Rose right there. But we've also got this tray. We've got Mountain Red, Salmon Rose, and Black Knight. And then we've got our tray of bunny tails. Doesn't that look great? Oh, I'm so happy with these. These are the softest grass. They feel like velvet. And they just are the most beautiful things. I think I might not even use these in the cut garden. I might put them in a flower bed. And then we've got Rudbeckia, which, you know, back here we've got Orange Fudge, then Prairie Sun, the caramel mix right here, and then what is this, Cherry Brandy. They're all coming. They're just a little slow. That's a weed. That's a nothing right there. I don't want that. Then we've got Sahara and Cherokee Sunset. I had to reseed Cherokee Sunset, so this is the reseed, and it's still really poor. So I don't know if it's the seed or what, but we probably have 50% germ in these front trays if you look hard enough. Like you can see little plants in there. I think this is about the cutest tray we have. We've got German winter thyme, and it's starting to look like little thyme plants. They are so cute. And then we've got parsley. Look at that. Doing really well. And then we've got another tray of asters. So this is our good tray. Again, we've got a little hard water damage. That's kind of what creates the little bit of yellowing. We've got a weed right here. Where are these even coming from? But we've got Lady Coral Lavender, we've got Tower Yellow, and Tower Chamois, what, I don't know, whatever. Kind of a pinky peach color. Then we've got our foxglove, which I've had the worst luck this year with foxglove than I ever have. Usually foxglove is a super easy one for me to grow. Here's Sugar Plum. I just recently potted these up. These are a little further along than these. Back here, Camelot Cream. I had 2 trays of these started, one for me and one for my mom. I was gonna give my mom one for Mother's Day, and this is what I'm down to. They don't even look, I'm gonna do plan B for my mom for Mother's Day. Anyway, Apricot Beauty is coming up pretty well. They're looking pretty good. I'm not really sure what happened with the Camelot Creams, honestly. And then in this tray, we have our Eucalyptus, which is looking pretty good. It might need a repot. We'll take a look at the roots. And then we've got a couple of Veronica plants. Then we've got Eryngium right here, which is sea holly. They're looking pretty good. This is steel blue and this is blue glitter. This is about how mine have looked previous years of planting. It's amazing what they do once you get them in the ground. It's kind of like Lysianthus that always looks so tiny and puny, and once you get them in the ground, they kind of explode. Got a couple more trays of ranunculus here. When I originally planted all the ranunculus and anemones out in the cut flower garden, the ones that I left in these trays were showing absolutely no signs of life, but they didn't look rotten. They were still firm, and I thought, well, I'll just leave them in the trays and see what happens. And it might be a move that I'll be thankful for later, because the other ones have been succumbed to all kinds of weather, and so far I think they're doing okay. And even if like the leaves on the ones that looked so nice look pretty bad, but the roots are still really healthy. So after this weather passes and we get some consistent warm, they'll probably grow fresh from the roots and be just fine. But it'll be fun to have a few backups just in case. So for that, you have your little top that comes up, and then if you look, you can see the little like tuber looking things, and then the new roots that have come off. I need to give this tray some water. Jeez. They're in trays that don't drain though, so I'm pretty careful about how much I give them. But you can see a bunch of new growth, which is exciting. We've got a tray of black-eyed Susans right here, all of which, nope, there's 2 cells that did not come up. Some of them are looking real good and big. Right down here, salad greens, there's spinach. It's a little behind. It's looking a little like yellowy, so I don't know, maybe it got too warm in here, maybe it's planted too close together, but typically I plant all my greens close together and they're fine. We've got green lettuce, can't remember the variety, and then a beautiful red right here. Chocolate flower, this was an experiment. The seed packet said that it was recommended to start them outside, not inside. Direct sow was recommended, but I thought I was going to give it a try anyway. And I think direct sow might be the way to go, because what do we have? A little over half here. It's fun to try. We have valerian right here, which I planted along with all my other herbs. We've got the whole tray filled here. Need to do a little bit of watering. And then back here we have a ton of snapdragons. We've seen a little bit of stress on some of them. I think maybe because it got so hot in here. I don't know that it's a water issue, because I've got like a half a tray that looks amazing and then one side that looks a little bit more yellow. I'm just not sure. We'll have to see. I think everything will be fine though. I do need to thin. That will help with some of the pressure. But some of them look real good, like this Potomac yellow right here looks good. There's cherry rose. There's Madame Butterfly red. There's apple blossom. This is the tray that Cheddar dropped. He knocked it down in between here, and I had Twinny Peach and Bridal Pink, and I have no idea, like these first 3 cells are a mixture of both, probably because I picked up whatever's on the floor that was usable and potted them, and then I reseeded. So from this tag, so this tray, and then all the way back were brand new seeds at a later date. Costa apricot here, which is showing the most yellowing. Madame Butterfly bronze, Potomac ivory, Potomac white, Madame Butterfly ivory, and Madame Butterfly bronze with white. Then we have a tray of delphiniums looking great called Black Knight. We may pot those up today. We've got Linaria called Fairy Bouquet, which I thought I thinned. I cut back a bunch of the seedlings and they just came back with a vengeance down below. They actually look like better than the top ones because they're not as leggy. Kind of weird. This is cool though. This is a Gardener's Supply galvanized, self-watering. It doesn't even have a bottom, so you can just pop the whole root ball out, and it's got a wicking mat down there with a little bit of a water reservoir. It's kind of a cool look. I like that. We've got leftover leeks, which we are going to be planting out in the cut garden once it shapes up outside. And then we've got just a few more random plants. So this is called Russell's Jerusalem Sage. Isn't that gorgeous? Never grown it before. It's a phlomis. 3 feet tall, 18 to 24 inches wide, evergreen. And let's see, when does it bloom? It blooms summer. I love the shape of the leaves. They're kind of like that heart shape, and they're kind of soft. We've got the ferns in here that I cut back earlier, which are showing some new growth. That one's a little slower, and then the third one did not make it. And then I've got a sage from last year, and then 3 primrose that I just recently cut back. And the very last area is right here in the center. We've got sugar snap pole peas right here. Looking amazing, growing like a weed. All the way up into the Japanese maple. That's the other Japanese maple that I forgot was in here, and it leafed out way early, which is totally fine. We just have to wait a while before putting these outside. I have a lemon cypress, and then we've got corn. This is ambrosia corn, which is a 75-day bicolor. It's weird. So they're all in this corten steel. This is from Gardener's Supply as well. It's a raised bed, and the corn is like tall here, short here. I don't know what gives there, but they all look healthy, and the beans look so good. Where did I see that little baby bean? Right here. Do you see that little baby bean? Isn't that so cute? I think if we looked a little bit more, we would find more of those, but I think we'll have a nice crop here fairly soon. Tomatoes are looking good, a little stressed, but they're forming up tomatoes. It's exciting. I've got a crimson cherry rhubarb I'm going to plant out. I think I'm going to pick up another one too. I kind of want a couple. There's our greens planter in the colander. I've just kept it in here because of our weather. And then our spring planters from earlier, we have enjoyed these so much in here. They've been so nice. And then we've got our olive tree. We've got our basket planter, which used to be the centerpiece in this little area before the corn kind of took over. The lavender's growing all the way up here to bloom. And then lastly, we have the cucumber. So this is the second one I wanted to show you. Like, this is the damage on the leaves. It looks like spider mite damage, but I can't find anything. There's no bug that I can find on here, even with a magnifying glass. And so the leaves would just like eventually dry up, but this one formed like a decent little cute cucumber. And then we've got some lavender. This is Elegance Purple Lavender, which came up better than lavender has ever come up for me. I have tried it before in the past with not as good a luck, and I only have, let's see, 2 cells that didn't come up, but see right here I had 4. So we'll separate those. So anyway, that's how it's going out here in the greenhouse. It does feel quite warm in here right now though. Yep, it's 81. So I'm going to open up one of the sides just a little bit. Yeah, can you see that? 81 in here. So we can hit open. And it's so chilly outside, I'm just going to open it a few inches and that'll cool it off really fast. And that's the thing, I knew it would be a trial year out here, just figuring out how to grow seeds out here, what does really well, what the happy spot, like the sweet spot for all of these things is, because, you know, everything requires something different. Like some things want to grow on cooler, some things want to be really warm. So to find kind of that happy medium, you know, for me this year has been a little bit of a difficult thing, but I think we'll get it eventually. And there will be some things that maybe I will go ahead and keep starting in the studio, and some things that I will start out here. Over time, I think I'll get those things figured out, and every year we'll learn something new. But in the end, we have a lot of plants to put out in the cut flower garden, plenty to fill it up and fill up our flower beds, and maybe even use some of these things down at the college. I was thinking of maybe separating like this tray of mahogany splendor hibiscus and using some of these down there, because they get so big and they handle our wind and our sun and they're gorgeous. I thought it would be fun to maybe try that out. So anyway, I think we should move on to some thinning and separating. Let's start with some separating first, and I will show you with the lavender, and then maybe we'll do these mahogany splendors. Okay, so here's where this little shovel comes in really handy. What I normally do is I just kind of rough the soil up in the cell that doesn't have anything, and then I take it, see there's 4 right there, I take it and remove 2. So you can see we have the 2 seedlings there, and I'm just going to separate them. Look at that one. So you can see the long roots. This one has a little bit more soil attached to it, but we'll take this one and just pop it down into the hole I just made in that other cell. And then this one right here, I'm going to make a bigger hole in there. We're going to guide the roots down in. And then just make sure not to compact that soil around those roots too hard. But there we go. Fix the soil in the original cell. So now every cell has a plant in it. And I'll typically leave the cells that have a couple 3 plants, like this one, there's 3 here. There's 2 left in that original one. But like this plant here doesn't look the best. So sometimes like these will grow up a little bit and then they'll kind of fizzle out, and then I'll still have plants to grab from to fill in those cells if needed. That smells so good. Just that little bit of work with the lavender. So this tray is done. Okay, I have another 72 count tray that's all prepared. I'm gonna grab that. Okay, so to separate something like this, I wanna check the root system first. So we're gonna pop one of these out. Oh my goodness, look at that. See how we've got the 2 plants? We're gonna see if we can gently, I should have probably done this a little bit sooner. Oh no, they're coming apart easily. Ooh, that's awesome. So this one will go back into its original cell. I'll probably mix up a little bit more soil mix to have on hand for this project. And then this one can go down in the new tray. And essentially in the end, we will end up with almost an extra tray of these. Sometimes it's worth separating them. For this type of plant, I feel like it is. And sometimes, like with the Columbine or Snapdragons, it's worth it just to thin them out with a pair of snips. Okay, so let's finish this project. It's gonna take us a minute. Probably shouldn't have filled this one all the way with soil. That was a rookie mistake. So we have 112 plants now instead of 72, and I realized and remembered as I was going through and separating, I didn't have enough seeds initially to plant up every cell, which there are 72 in one tray with 2 seeds per cell. So what I had done was planted the entire tray with 1 seed per cell, and then I went back through with leftover seeds and planted the leftovers in whatever cells I could. So you can see how many cells worth of extra seeds I had right there. But that's awesome. It'll take them a minute to kind of catch their breath after the separation from their friend there, but they should all start to really flourish now that they have a lot of root space. The roots were amazing on these. Okay, now we are going to address this tray of thickly planted Columbine, which we are going to handle differently than we did with the hibiscus. We are not going to be separating these. We're going to be using snips to thin them out to just 1 or 2 plants per cell. And I know that that can be a hard thing for some of you guys to do, but just know it's part of the process. There's no reason to feel guilty for thinning your seedlings like that. I mean, you can go ahead and separate all of your seedlings if you want. It just takes a lot of extra soil, a lot of pots, and a lot of table space, and a lot of grow light space if that's what you're working with. And so like this tray of Columbine, I'm not sure how many plants we're dealing with here, but a lot, and it would take a lot of supplies to plant all of those up, and it would take an enormous amount of time. It's just quicker sometimes to seed them a little bit heavier because these seeds are so tiny that it's hard to just put a couple per pot. So I just usually sprinkle seeds out, let them come up knowing I'm going to thin them later, and then I usually have some really nice healthy plants. Now I do recommend cutting them off, the extra ones off at the base right above the soil rather than pulling the extras out, because when you pull them out, depending on the age of the seedlings, if they're really young it might be okay, but like these have been growing for a bit and their roots are probably intertwined a bit with each other. So if we cut it off, then we're not going to disrupt the root system of the plant that we want to keep. So let me show you how I do it. So like this cell right here has 2 plants in it, and I want to keep those. We'll eventually go down to 1, but they're small enough now to keep them just in case something happens to the other one. I like to do that. First, I'm going to go through and cut the ones around the exterior. And then if we go in, there's just a gob of plants in the middle there. So I'm going to cut this one out and this one. Probably a couple more along the outside. It looks like let's see. There we go. Down to 1 plant that has a lot of room to grow and it can breathe now. Okay, so another cell. Let's do this one. These are kind of scattered a little differently. I might leave 2 in this cell. No, I'm just gonna leave 1. Yep, look at that. So much better. So our goal here is to have the rest of these cells look like this first row right here in the end. So here we go. do have a couple more trays to thin, but I'll probably save those. I like to do those types of projects in the evenings when the kids and I come out here to the greenhouse, and tonight we'll probably be in here because it is kind of crummy outside. So anyway, I kind of putter around in here and work on things like that while they're playing. So anyway, let's pot up some delphiniums from their tray into larger containers, and then we'll fertilize. So these right here, the black night delphiniums, they're looking really good, but if we pop one out, let's see, just grab which one? This one? Yeah. Roots are looking really good. I mean, they could stay in this tray for a while, and there's a few that I might, well, I'll probably go ahead and pot them up just because I'm doing it right now, but they could stay in the tray for a lot longer. There's only a few that are small like that. So I think it'll benefit these to be potted up into this size of container right here, and this is why I save a lot of my 4-inch annual containers. So I just hang on to them as well as the trays so that I can pot up my seedlings, and then I have an easy way to move them around, and I didn't have to pay for more pots, which is awesome. I'm going to be using regular potting mix. This one right here, rather than the seed starting mix this time. The seed starting mix is what I planted them in to begin with. But anyway, let's get this done. These look really good. Oh, and even though those didn't really need to be potted up, it just feels nice to have it done. Somehow, whenever I transplant up, like pot up, spread out, or thin stuff, it just makes me more comfortable somehow to look at them. They look like they just have the space that they need, the airflow around each plant. They're not all crowded. So they should, like these right here, you can tell this one was up against something else on this side, so it was growing out more this way. So now it should rectify and be a nicer shape. Again, see all the white on the leaves, that's hard water. It'll be easier now that they're not so close together to get my hose right in here and not hit the leaves with water. But these will probably be in here for another 4 weeks or so, but they will size up quite a lot now that they've been bumped up in size, and that kind of brings me to fertilizing. This is what I've been using right here, Liquid Grow. And plants that are this size, whether or not I've potted them up or left them in their original tray, I do full strength, which is 2 to 3 doses per gallon. So let me show you what that means. You just shake it up. This is a 2-gallon watering can, so since it's 2 to 3 doses per gallon, I need to do 6. And you don't squeeze the bottle, you just pour. So it's got like a self-measuring cap. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom. Now we need some water. Stick the end right in there and turn it on. Perfect. Okay, you got it? Okay, you can turn it off. Whoa, just turn it off. Turn off the hose. Yep. There you go. Okay, we'll put the end back on it. And we're just going to give them a nice deep soak here. Settle them into their new home. And you can hit leaves and all with this. I know I just said kind of the opposite, but with fertilizer, foliar and soil application works out pretty nicely. So taking a look at some of our other plants here, the ones I would give full strength fertilizer to are at this point, these could have it. These tomatoes are putting on some nice size. Celosia, I might still do half strength fertilizer. I usually wait until they've put on a little bit. I won't fertilize, maybe even half strength on this here because they're just brand new. I could probably do full strength on a lot of these things now. Yep, everything full strength on this side. Stuff like the mountain mint right here probably doesn't even need it yet. We will do full strength for the hibiscus, the echinacea, geraniums, of course the peppers, the Columbine we just thinned today, the Agastache. We'll also fertilize all the dahlias. And then on this side, I would do full strength fertilizer on this size of plant right here, the Rudbeckias. You know, like this one here, I might do half strength, but these, they're so little. They haven't put on much growth yet. I mean, you could do half strength, see if you can get a little bit of extra foliar growth going, but they may be able to wait a bit too. But I would do full strength on this, these, of course, all of these right here. We're kind of getting to that point where it's safe. I also use this one right here, not for edibles that I'm growing, but for any flowers like the delphiniums. I would have used that just in place of what I used today. So this one works really well too. I would do full strength, half strength on smaller things, and then this for sure on all the edibles. I hope that all makes sense. So I do try to fertilize once a week. Sometimes that doesn't happen, so sometimes it's every other week. We'd probably get more consistent and better growth, bigger growth, if I was more consistent with it. And then I do full strength fertilizer for things that are bigger, that have more leaf canopy, that have a more established root system, that I really want to get some good growth going before I'm ready to pot them outside, or plant them outside rather. And then on things that are just babies, just kind of brand new, just starting to form their first set of leaves. And usually I don't even fertilize until they've formed a few sets of true leaves. Anyway, and then I do half strength fertilizer on those. So I'm just going to go around and fertilize some things, and that's pretty much it for today. And that's pretty much it for today. I mean, I have a few things left, like I could either separate or thin out the Cilicia. I've got this one last tray of Columbine to thin out. That should go pretty quickly. And then I think I'm gonna separate the Gomphrena. I mean, I know I don't need that much, but I think it looks like it's at a really great stage to separate it. So we may do that yet. And everything else I think is good. We may not even need to pot anything else up. The Rudbeckias, just the black-eyed Susans, and I don't know. We might have to pot those up, but everything else I think is going to be just directly planted outside. But the fluctuation in temperature in here is pretty crazy. And I think that that's where I'm kind of getting off a little bit because like when I'm in here working today, so the sun goes behind a cloud, the temperature drops to 62 at one point. And then the sun came back out and in a few minutes, I'm like, dang, I'm starting to sweat. It feels hot. It was 87 in here. So, I mean, that fluctuation, the plants probably don't like that. I know some of them are pretty sensitive to that. So I was constantly going back and forth, opening up the sidewall, then closing it, and then opening it up and closing it. And the thermostat is supposed to work, which we haven't set it up yet. We don't have it figured out. It's supposed to trigger the sidewall. So when it hits a certain temperature, it'll open it a certain amount and then it'll close it if it senses that it gets too cold, and it'll do it on its own. And I think if I have that kind of help, because most days we're busy. So I come out here, I'm like, well, it's sunny for the most part. So I need to have these doors open. I don't want it to be 90 degrees in here. But who knows how many times the sun goes behind the cloud and it gets cold in here. So I think once we get that figured out, that will be very helpful. That could be one of the reasons why things are yellowing a bit and maybe a little bit stressed. It could be that. It could be that. Who knows? Everything for the most part is looking really good though, and I'm really happy with it. So I hope today's video was interesting. I hope it was helpful to you guys, and I hope that all of your seedlings are doing really well. I'm so excited to be able to plant outside. It's going to be a little while yet, but we're going to get there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.